make an opening statement, then we'll throw it open for questions.
It was a good win for us today. Last game before the bye week. Very, very important that we found a way, as we describe it, as getting to the end of the third quarter and not having this week off with a loss hanging over our heads. So a huge win for us. I think we were limping into this bye week. I think we were tired both mentally and physically in the bye week. Couldn't come at a better time. It secures a 2-game lead in the MAC going into the bye week, and more importantly, the way we think, it secures a 5-game lead for one of the all-important top 4 places and buys going into the MAC tournament. So I'm proud that the kids battled through some adversity in my absence and really handled the smooth transition of our staff and Jennifer running the program for a little bit, and then no seamless transition back as we prepared for this game. And emotional for me to get a second chance. Really, really appreciate the welcome that I received when I walked onto the court for the first time. We have great fans, and I can't thank people enough for all the well wishes, emails, text messages that I've received over the last week.
How uncomfortable was it for you trying to be comfortable?
You know, probably the biggest toll on me is emotionally, more than physically. And I have a great team of doctors, and it is what it is. You know, you're surprised by the diagnosis of what happened. But now, the big comment over and over from the doctors is you can't be fearful. You've got to be yourself. We got to change things a little bit, but you've got to be yourself. And they said, until I take that step and feel comfortable coaching the way I'm comfortable with, again, that I was going to have some fear and doubt. And I was more calm today, but certainly there was plays that aggravated me from our team, from calls on the floor, and I didn't feel in the heat of the battle that I was afraid to be myself.
Were there points during the course of the game where you were kind of like, okay, rein it in?
Certainly. I mean, I think it's human nature to know I got to change my fervor a little bit. And so I'm leaning on my assistants more to get some of the message across. But again, the doctors assure me that I have to feel comfortable being myself out there.
How do you feel today?
Emotionally spent. You know, I was scared, but really, really excited about the opportunity to be back. But again, emotionally just spent because I didn't want to let the team down, but I wanted to coach a good game, and they wanted to play well for me and the fans. And so it's been an interesting journey, certainly this week, but I'm glad to be back.
Was there a point where you weren't sure if you'd be back coaching?
You know, I think when the incident happened on Sunday in the 22nd in that game, you knew something was wrong. And I'd never had a migraine before, so when the initial thinking was that it was an optical migraine, okay, and everyone reached out to me in this community and nationally, and oh, we have those all the time. And but after I returned from the Ball State trip and got home at 1 o'clock in the morning and practiced at 7, was up with my staff at 7, preparing for practice at 9, finished with practice, and then went to the doctor and said, you know, something just doesn't seem right, and ran a few more tests, and all of a sudden, Thursday afternoon, you're ushered into a room and said you had a stroke. And I'm a 43-year-old, don't drink, don't smoke, and it's a little bit, you know, shocking, and you wonder, human nature, if you just, you know, ended your coaching career, you know, like, was that 250th win against Eastern Michigan one of the last? And so I had that frail moment of like, what does that diagnosis mean? But coaches are problem solvers, so I instantly went into coach mode, and how are we going to problem solve? Who's going to take over the team? Why? I figure out what's really going on, and until I can get back like, how is this program going to keep moving forward? And so we've been problem solving since that diagnosis on Thursday, and haven't, you know, and finally found some time for myself to figure out and handle it the right way. But certainly still a little shocking. It's surreal a little bit that that's still what happened to me.
During your time away, did you disassociate completely for any time at all, or were you still in contact with everybody? Or
I needed to let Jennifer run the program and feel comfortable with her and our staff. There's a reason why I've always said I believe I have the best staff in the country, and there's a reason we've been so successful, because we've been together. So there was that trust and there was that belief that I could step away and not communicate at all. So I certainly took time to rest, and they respected that and they understood that. But we still conferred over the phone. I still came in periodically and talked, but I really believe in my staff, and I really told them that they have to be themselves, and they need to go coach in my absence the way they're comfortable and what they think, not what I think. And so we had conversation, but certainly Jennifer really ran the program the way when I was gone.
Curt, following the game Wednesday, were you back in practice Thursday? Can you kind of walk through the
Timeline?
Yeah, please.
We arrived back from Ball State, Muncie, Indiana on that Thursday morning at 1 in the morning.
Okay.
We were back together roughly 7 a.m. on Thursday, preparing for our 9 a.m. practice. The girls, the team lifted at 7:45, and we began practice at 9. Ran a good practice, a very important practice, getting ready for that Central Michigan game. Practice ended at a little after 11, and near noon I was in a doctor's appointment talking about some of my consistent and persistent symptoms, and that's when we had an MRI immediately scheduled, and the MRI took place Thursday afternoon, and by late Thursday afternoon I was given the diagnosis that I had a mild stroke.
If you don't mind, then this week, obviously you didn't travel to Central. We're not here for Northern on Wednesday. You came back to practice then on Thursday?
I was in and out a little bit early in the week. I watched practice early in the week one day for a little bit. I was visible at beginnings of film sessions in the evening, but when I really started to be back more on a regular basis was Thursday. I was planned on being an active participant in practice. Unfortunately, a doctor's appointment time was changed on Thursday, so I had to run out before practice was over. But Friday, I ran the practice in preparation for today's game, film sessions, and certainly this morning's shoot-around.
was there any intention to come back, maybe in particular for a 6-16 team, as opposed to having your very next game be Toledo when things are going to be nuts?
You know, I was cleared rather quickly, almost immediately, to coach. I needed to take some time to understand what had happened to me and make some necessary changes and be able to have some time with my family. When we decided to come back, it was more on a day-to-day basis on how I was feeling. There was no timetable immediately set out. I will admit to you, though, that the comfort of being in front of your home fans on your return, instead of 5,000+ people that are going to be in Savage Hall next weekend, was definitely in my mind. I didn't know if I knew today was a big step for me emotionally. I knew it wasn't going to be very easy, and that I was going to have lots of emotions and concerns throughout the game on every twinge and every feeling that I get, or when I would get agitated. And so certainly I didn't know if the best decision was going to be the Toledo game, but it was still always set out and always was a day-by-day basis on how I was feeling.
Talk a lot about emotion from a physical perspective. The headaches are gone, and you feel good physically?
Yeah, you know, I have not had headaches almost this entire time. I have a little bit of some pressure in the head, and that's basically more tension, and my nerves acting up is what the doctors are telling me. We continue to undergo tests and make sure there's, you know, nothing that we're missing, but I feel really good with my team of doctors. I feel really good about the information that I've received. I was really, really lucky. You know, the hard part about medical diagnosis is that they can tell you what happened, and we can try to minimize events from ever happening again, but you can't always explain why it happened. And that's the hard thing for me, is there's no real definitive on why this happened. And I think we all live with that in the medical field, on sometimes frustrated on why something happened.
Curt, was there a point in the game where you kind of got a little more comfortable with the way you are right now? I mean, kind of playing through an uncertain moment or something like that?
You know, I don't know if there was any pinpoint moment, but I knew when I got on my players a few times and sat back down and said, well, that didn't feel any different, that I was going to be okay. And I think they almost enjoyed that. You know, we did not play well back to the game, which I would really like to focus on. You know, that the last 5 minutes, we didn't play well. We had 62 points with 5 minutes to go and really struggled that last 5 minutes, and championship teams need to finish better and do a better job down the stretch. Our foul shooting, you know, would cause anyone to have a headache. You know, I don't know, John, if there was one pinpointed moment, but when I got on my kids and felt like there's no different, then I heard what the doctors have been telling me, that you can't be afraid to coach.
Alexis, when she was in here, said kind of at the end, the players had tried to generate energy, and she felt they kind of needed you to bring some energy, and you brought it by design at that point.
Down the stretch, just challenge them to get to the finish line. You know, you look up with 5 minutes to go in the game, you got a 17-point lead. You're minutes away from having 2 days off, enjoying the luxury of the bye week, and really kind of decompressing and forgetting about basketball. You can't imagine how important the bye day is for us. And all that they endured. I mean, what goes unstated in this, a lot of credit and talk about my staff, and they've been fantastic through this, and they're wonderful people, but the 18 to 22-year-olds had a lot of adversity too. So I tried to bring a little bit of energy to push them to the finish line. You could tell that they were just done. You know, they were ready for the game to be done. They were comfortably ahead, and maybe we didn't have the focus we needed to down the stretch. And I continue to keep harping on it. We can't do that because it's going to come back upon us someday.
A question about the game. When you talk about the run, it's 9-9, and you guys basically decide the game with that big run. Offense, defense leading to offense in your eyes.
I thought the defense was really strong in the first half, and I think the big stat line for us was points off turnovers in the first half. It was 17-0, and we had a 16-point lead. And so our defense really fueled part of our offense. Almost 50% of our offense came off turnovers in the first half. And it just gave us a pep in the step. It allowed us to shoot the ball better. We are a grinding team. We are not a pretty offensive team this year. And we can get in segments that we really struggle offensively. So when we can generate a little bit of offense from our defense, it really helps us.
A lot of people, when they come back from an injury, they're not sure how they're going to hold up during the game. For you, are there any butterflies or doubts on how the game play out as far as your expectations?
Yes, I had as much anxiety today before the game as I've had in years. I was very, very nervous and anxiety. I didn't know emotionally how I react to the crowd. I didn't know what the crowd would do when I walked out because it was pretty private on when my return would be. So there was lots of old-fashioned butterflies in the locker room. I intentionally came out later to try to compose myself. But again, this community, the well wishes, unbelievable. We have unbelievable fans and supporters of our program, and I can't thank people enough. I've heard from everyone across the country. It's amazing what social media does. I've heard from my high school friends, my college friends, the coaching profession. You know, my parents are more excited that I heard from Gino than relatives calling me. So it's been overwhelming, and I'm glad to be back as soon as I am.
Anything else?